Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Errickson. I am the artistic director of the Boomerang Theater Company. And today's artist chat, we have Nathan Crocker, who we're so excited to see. It's been a while since I've seen you, buddy. So I'm very
Yeah, I
happy
know. It's been a while.
see you.
Yeah.
I'm going to read Nathan's bio real quick. Nathan Crocker is an actor and voice and speech teacher. He is currently on the faculty at Rutgers University. As an actor, Nathan starred in Boomerang's outdoor production of Richard III for our 15th anniversary season. And his coaching work has been seen at Roundabout Theater Company, Keene Company, American Shakespeare Center, Triad Stage, Utah Shakes, and the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And he was the voice and dialect coach for the pre-Broadway tour of Ain't Too Proud. So that's a lot. You've been busy.
Been trying to stay busy.
Yeah. So tell everybody where you are.
I'm currently sheltering in place in California, in Northern California, in Sonoma County. So.
And much better than New York City and New Jersey, I would imagine.
Yeah. You know, we made the decision back in March. I was supposed to be working at Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and as rehearsals were starting for a new Dominique Morisseau play, the news came down that theater performances had to be halted, and so rehearsals were halted, and I had a scheduled week off in Northern California with my in-laws to see my new nephew, and lo and behold, I ended up staying. So we struggled with when we were going to try to head back to New Jersey because our lives are there, all of our stuff. My wife is a voiceover artist, all of her recording stuff was there, and we just made the decision to stay because with her family, and we have access to a little bit more space here than we do in New Jersey. So we felt, and just since California was kind of on the front edge of taking care of things and kind of keeping things isolated, we felt it was a little bit safer here. And so we've stayed here. So.
And so how is everybody doing? How's your in-laws doing? How's your wife doing? They all holding up okay?
Everybody's doing really, really well. Everybody's doing really well. We had somebody go into our apartment and send, my wife's good mic and compressor out here. And so she's been able, she converted one of her childhood closets into actually a very nice recording studio. And so she's been doing a lot of work there. And, my father-in-law loves having us in the house. He loves, he's been eating very well since I've been here because I love cooking. It's been one of my stress relief kind of things. And so I've been doing a lot of baking and a lot of cooking, and he's been enjoying that a lot.
So then you have an open invitation to come here anytime, just so you know.
Yeah.
When you get back.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
We'll do. A lot of friends are like, hey, can you make that for me? So
So as a creative person, how
Mm-hmm.
has this been? I mean, you are obviously an actor. You're used to being in rehearsal rooms. You're a speech and text and voice teacher, used to being in rehearsal rooms with people. What's it been like to sort of be away from a lot of folks?
Tricky. It's been tricky. And I guess I could say complicated because I think there have been some good things and then there have been some challenges. Like I said, I was preparing to finally work at Oregon. I'd been looking forward to working at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And things just, changed, as things happened. And so, I had really kind of had myself geared towards, starting to work on developing the accents and figuring out how the culture of coaching works at Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and kind of had put teaching on the back burner in my brain. And once this all happened, and we kind of landed here in Northern California, I ended up, essentially teaching the rest of the semester remotely, doing speech and dialects at Rutgers. And it was fine. I actually think that it was interesting because I discovered some things that I was like, oh, I should remember that when we actually come back all together, even when we're in the same room, just, ways of using Zoom for coaching and Google Forms for homework assignments and things of that nature. I was like, this is kind of nice. But you miss the energy. Like, you also realize how much energy it takes to maintain a college student's interest. It was just, as they were dealing with their own things in their home lives, they feed off of the energy of being a part of an ensemble. and that collective energy, I think, feeds and fuels a room when you're doing a lot of creative discovery. And to not be able, you can see each other, but you really can't get the vibe of each other. And so there were definitely times where it's just like you find yourself just talking, and you're like, "Are you following me?" And you kind of get like a bunch of just kind of like, "Yeah, we're here," and you're like, "Okay, good." This normally was followed by a lot of discussion in class and questions, but now that's not happening. So I guess we'll just move on.
Right.
And so, it's something that they don't prepare you. I think that it's interesting for those of us who are actors or artists, and you find yourself in teaching positions. You're never really taught how to teach it. You're taught how to do it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you find yourself teaching, you're kind of learning how to communicate concepts that very personally. And so I had just gotten to that point of being comfortable and gaining confidence in teaching speech and teaching voice stuff and how they relate to acting. And then to have to go online and do it all remote was like, you're kind of starting at square one again, because you feel like you're making it up and you're kind of BSing your way through it, because you're like, I've never been prepared for this. So, but it was good to have that, even though I was looking forward to the end of the semester. It was good to have it and do it. And then once the semester ended, you just kind of needed a break, because I think the world just felt like everything was moving. Every day something new was coming out, new information. And I think there were a lot of people who were like, they jumped right into like researching and surveying about how to do things in the fall. And I just needed time. Like, I was one of those people that was like, I need time and space. And so I've been trying to find my way of kind of regaining my footing and getting myself geared up to like, okay, let's start working on these things to be prepared for this, that, or the other. Trying to start really focusing on getting my coaching business kind of up and running a little bit more, prominently. And then also trying to like really think about what the curriculum for the fall is going to look like. So.
And it's kind of obviously it goes without saying that this is a wild time to have all of these things happening at the same time, right? Like, we're recording this on June 26th. And, when we think about like what you might be doing in the fall, that, whether you'll be back on campus or whether you'll still be remote or some combination of the two, or will there be theaters back that need your services? It's just kind of an unpredictable time to plan how this is all going to play out, even in the short term.
Yeah. No, it's like you're kind of trying to put a bunch of things in place so that you're prepared for whatever might happen. But then there's only so much that you can do that doesn't involve you kind of losing your mind with anxiety and stress of like trying to prepare, because
Sure.
I'm already naturally an anxious person, and so this idea of like, who knows what's going to happen in the future is something that I'm already grappling with. So now it's just like, no, really, nobody knows what's happening a couple weeks from now. So there's figuring out how to handle that on a personal level as well as on a professional and creative level is challenging. But I think that one of the things that I've really tried to focus on is like, there's only so much you can do. And so I'm going to focus on this little bit. And I also don't have to do it all at once. That's the other thing. Right. I think that every summer for as far back as I can remember, I've been working on something, whether it was acting or coaching or doing something. And this is the first summer where I'm not doing anything. And I think that obviously once the school year ended, it felt like I had to jump right into getting ready for the next school year, because normally I'm coming back from a summer contract and I have 4 weeks before the semester starts. And I'm like, okay, now I have to switch gears and like really think about my syllabus and stuff like that. And so that reflex kind of kicked in right as the semester ended. And then I realized I still have 3.5 months before that happens. So I don't actually need to do that right now. I can take care of me, which is also a very new concept. So kind of discovering what self-care means. So yeah.
It's been wild. I think a lot of people have gone through the similar experience that you have, where there's a push-pull of, I have all this time, I should be doing something with it. I should be, my activity gears kick in, but then there's also this point of like, oh my God, I can relax. I have no deadlines. I have no whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think that because we live in such a hustle culture, you know, and particularly as artists, it's like you're always hustling for the next gig. You're always hustling for the next thing, because if you don't, like, you can't just wait for the, like, we were all taught this, you know, as actors, you can't sit and wait for the phone to ring. You have to go and do. And so I think that's something that kind of starts to get hardwired in and really pervades your personality. And I think that we were kind of like, as artists, you're starting to hear more and more about it as people kind of trying to reclaim themselves a little bit and their energy. Before all of this happened, I think there was this starting to move towards, you know what, I'm going to actually start trying to set some kind of boundaries. And so now it's like, because there's no deadline, you're kind of like, yes, I should be using all this time to better myself and learn all of these new skills and do all these things.
Sure.
But I think that this is a really great time for also people to take care of themselves. So when things do come back, like, we're better people. I think that that's the thing that was missing in a way, that like we just become so consumed and defined by the things that we did and the work that we did, and not just the people that we were. We are as human beings. So those things that interest us that aren't involved in theater, that aren't involved in maybe art, or maybe just being consumers of it, like sitting and watching, as opposed to being the one that's always having to do the doing. So
yeah. Have you seen anything good on Netflix? What have you been watching?
Oh my God. I've had, at the beginning, everybody was talking about all the series that they were, you know, watching and binging, and I'm not a binger. That's not my thing. But like we watched all of the Star Wars in chronological order.
Nice.
Yeah. You have to kind of suffer through episodes 1 through 3. But,
oh, you mean that chronological order? You mean like 1 through 9, not like 77 through? Yeah.
1 through 9. Yeah. Well, it was interesting because like we did Star Wars episodes 1 through 9 with throwing in like Solo and Rogue One and all that stuff. But we just did a Marvel marathon, and we did that one in release order. So we started with Iron Man and went all the way through Endgame. So that was kind of interesting. And it's always, you find these Easter eggs. You're like, oh my God, that's what they're talking about there. Oh, I had no idea. I was not even paying attention to that. I had no, you know, so that's been fun. But now that we're done with that, like I've been trying to tap into a few more series. Like I've kind of started watching Black AF on Netflix, and then Steve Carell's Space Force with Steve Carell and John Malkovich, which is just ridiculous. So yeah, it's like little, like I'm now actually have time to go like, what do I want to watch? I need to finish Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
I started that before all of this, and I kind of want to finish it. But like, you know, and particularly also now with a lot of the Black Lives Matter and all of the anti-racism stuff that we're going through now, I'm also trying to watch more, you know, content that's, you know, been created by people of color. So, you know, trying to find that balance of watching some of the funny stuff and some of the serious stuff, and just kind of opening my eyes because of just the time that we're in, and trying to honor those artists who are out there doing that stuff. So
yeah, I think it's a tricky balance too of like, there's so much out in the world, and sometimes I feel like I want to just watch light things, give me half-hour comedies all night long, but then like you know, that's not really doing service to the moment at the same time, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, there are definitely times where, like, you know, not even related to some of the social stuff that's going on, but like, you know, if it's a movie, I'm notorious for, if it's a movie that I know is going to require a lot of emotional investment, I'm just like, can we watch something else right before I go to bed? So I either need to watch this during the daytime, or we can watch something else. But yeah.
So last question for you, my friend. As an artist, is there a piece of advice or something that you kind of fall back on from time to time when you either feel a little stuck, or things are a little daunting, that either you read somewhere or somebody said to you one time, that sort of you use as a thing that kind of bolsters you up or gets you through?
You know, I'm trying to think. It, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a really tricky question. A thing that I have been kind of trying to do recently and just kind of becoming more aware of is also reconnecting with my faith just a little bit. And I have, there have been times when I like it's kind of taken a back seat, and when times get kind of like this, I do kind of reevaluate and kind of find myself going like, yeah, like things happen for a reason. And I know that sometimes for people who unfortunate things happen to, it can feel kind of cruel. But I also feel that like we are where we are because it's where we're supposed to be, and something is supposed to come out of that. And whether that be on a global scale or whether it be on a personal level. And so, you know, I don't want it to sound cliche, but like a thing where things get really hard for me right now, I can do all things through Christ. That's been kind of a thing that's just kind of popped into my head because I sometimes just get so overwhelmed. And it's been very hard for me to kind of just get out of my own way. And then when I just kind of stop and like take a moment and just be like, it's okay, things will get better. And I have to believe that things will get better. That's just something that's kind of popped into my head. But then also, being okay with life kind of making its twists and turns to kind of get you where you're supposed to be. I got my MFA in acting and thought that like I was gonna like book that national commercial that was gonna get me on a television show that was gonna get me to doing a movie or working for major regional theater companies and be on Broadway. And like none of that has happened. And that can be really disheartening. But then I look back and I think about like all of those triumphs and then those missteps or things that didn't happen the way that I thought, and like where I am and the knowledge that I have and the things that I'm able to share and the voice that I'm able to have and the things I'm able to do. Like I have to kind of look back and look at those things, because if I look at all the things that I didn't get because I wanted them, like it's like that's a lot of heavy stuff. But then like when I look at where I am now and the things that I have done and the lives that I have touched, it's kind of like, oh wow, okay, like in people seeking you out for voice and dialect coaching and doing that. And I've actually been able to work at some amazing theater companies because of the voice and dialect work, not so much because of my acting work. And that's like, you kind of have to take those things like, okay, well, like I'm doing this thing. And so I think that, the thing that I also have to kind of remind myself, and I think is useful for a lot of people, is just be okay with being where you're at. It doesn't mean that you don't want to improve. It doesn't mean that you don't want to get better, but you have to kind of acknowledge where you are and like being okay with who you are in that moment and going, okay, these are the things that I would like to work on, not because I need to, because I want to, because like I have a desire. You're really kind of connecting with those things that make you human. And that's something that I've been working on a lot recently. Like, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? What is it that nourishes me? And how do I move forward? And so, yeah, it's being okay with where you are and find the thing that makes you hungry and makes you want like to take that next step, and know that you only have to take one step at a time. Like you don't have to run a marathon, right? You just take one step at a time. So
all right.
yeah,
For the guy for the guy who told me it was a hard question, he didn't have an answer, you just spilled off the best answer to this question maybe ever.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, as you start talking, sometimes you go like, oh yeah, this is how I feel. And I think this is one of the reasons why I do actually like voice and speech coaching and teaching to a certain degree. I've been having a debate with myself whether I like coaching more or teaching more, but like as you start giving voice to things that you are unsure about, you start to kind of start figuring out where your emotions and your values lie. And I think that sometimes it's that idea of giving voice kind of, and it gives things and ideas that you've maybe been toying with, it gives it certain power and reality. And I think that that's one of the, like, whenever I get discouraged, it's like, I'm just stuck in the university teaching. But like these kids, these students that I'm working with these days, I feel like sometimes their voices are so caught and they don't know how to express themselves. And then when they get that out, when they say things that scare them or say things that excite them and that give them reality and that give them, like, it gives these ideas body and voice, like there's something very empowering and very freeing about that. And I think that, I guess that's one of the reasons that I'm still doing it. And like, I don't realize that's one of the reasons that I'm doing it until something like this happens.
So, I mean, if you could see yourself right now, you would see how excited your face is when you get to talk about that, which is, it's really astounding. Like, we're having a good conversation and all of a sudden I ask you one dumb question and you light up. I mean, so rock on. Good for you.
Yeah, it's you get some. I think sometimes we get caught up in our own. I don't know if you're gonna have to bleep this. I mean, we get caught up in our own bullshit sometimes.
Yeah,
like it's just we just and we get so caught up in our own way, and we forget. Like we just and we get caught up in trying to make our vision of our world, you know, this reality, but sometimes it doesn't really allow for what's actually happening in the moment and being present with what's happening in the moment and the things that you are doing and the good that you are doing, and the lives that you are touching. And you think that you yourself don't value those things the way that other people value it. And I think that sometimes you have to take that step back and realize there is value in the things that you do. They may not be huge. They don't have to be, you know, you're not lighting up silver screens all over the country, but you are touching these lives, and that means something. That does have value. And so I think that any artist who's struggling with this idea of like the thing that they're doing versus the notoriety of the fame that they thought they were going to have, it's like, be aware that the things that you are doing do have value for people. And so don't stop. Just don't stop, you know, so.
Buddy, I'm going to leave it right there because I don't think we can top that, honestly. That was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This has been great. Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Yes, see you soon.
All right.